What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Bailey Canning. I'm an independent full stack marketing strategist. And on today's video, I'm going to be giving you a case study going over a recent Webflow website build that I literally just completed about 2 weeks ago. It is for a company called Saks Technology Advisors. This is a subsidiary, you could say, of the main company, Saks LLP, which is a very large accounting firm. This project came about because I had previously worked with one of the directors of business development over at Saks during my advertising agency days. So literally the lead source was just a LinkedIn message saying that this project was going to be happening. And he advised me to shoot an email over to the marketing director, who was the main client point of contact, although I did work with the entire corporate marketing team on this project. So long story short, I interviewed for the role. It was actually kind of late in the process because I was traveling in Portugal at the time. And while I did come in late in the process, I guess I impressed them because ultimately they chose me for the project. And as you can see in here, this is essentially how the website came out. So I'm going to run you through the proposal so you have an idea of what the scope of work is. Then I'm going to explain what the strategy phase looked like, as well as the design, and then finally the development phase. So let's get right into it without any further ado. And I'll give you a quick preview of the website. So again, this is essentially like an IT firm, as you can start to see here. So as you can see, this is the website, very minimalist design. We went with this dark look, but then we also incorporated these gold accents as well. Lots of subtle animations, as you can see, very straight to the point, very conversion focused. So let's get into the proposal just so you can see exactly what I was tasked with designing. So the proposal document is a little lengthy, but I wanted to focus in here on the process because typically I will outline the process on a project proposal. This way, the client actually knows what they're getting involved with. Of course, I also do go over this during the initial sales process, but you never want to be misaligned on the proposal because that will just create an awkward situation for everyone involved. Here, I basically explain how we're going to have a website strategy workshop to kick off the phase. Then we go into UX design of the website. These are going to be essentially high-level blueprints of the website where we're not focused on the final design. We're just instead looking to nail down the copy and the content and the overall structure of the pages. Once we do that, then we can actually go into high fidelity UI design. So this is where the client is actually going to be able to preview the proposed final design for the website, and then they're going to be able to influence the design direction accordingly with their feedback. Then it's on to me and whoever I might be working with on my team to develop the website in Webflow. This was a Webflow website build. Then we have a quick QA testing and launch phase. And then finally, there is a offboarding phase consisting of, explaining what the management and marketing solutions would look like depending on the specific client goals. So here is what the strategy deliverables look like. So as you can see here, I outlined all this. This way, once the project is officially good to go, I will input all these different deliverables you see here into my project management tool called Basecamp, and all of these deliverables essentially become tasks in that project management tool. That way there's full transparency and they can see everything I'm responsible for and the progress I'm making as the project continues. So you can see here we had the UX design deliverables for all these different pages, and then I was going to mop up 3 pages in terms of the UI design, and then there's just some like functionality deliverables, all that type of stuff. So let's get into what the presentation looked like to kick things off. This wasn't a full website strategy phase, I would say. This was more of an abridged version. I sometimes do this if the budget is limited or it's a smaller project. But in this case, I went about it this way because this company already has a corporate marketing team. It's about 5 or 6 people, all very talented, smart, intelligent individuals. And they had already developed the strategy of the website. So for me, it was much more about just learning more about this particular subsidiary within the business, and then to help them think through some things on the website. So you can see here was the agenda, basically breaking down everything we're going to be talking about. Then I explain where we are in the process and what the next steps will be, just so they have context. I kept it very minimalist this time around, basically just using these headings here as prompts for discussion. This was very discussion oriented, but I did also have some clear objectives and goals that I had written down ahead of time, as you can see here. Also, I wanted to have some KPIs, key performance indicators. This way we don't just launch the website into a vacuum and then we have no idea if we achieved our goal. Honestly, here it was all about increasing brand awareness because this is a new brand within the company, as well as, of course, generating leads from the website. So then here it was just a slide kind of talking about what the specific offering is. Again, it's an IT firm, but very cutting edge, not like one of those stuffing IT firms. This is a very modern IT firm, you could say. Then very important to go over the target audience, because obviously if we're going to be designing a website and writing copy for the website, very important that we know who exactly we're trying to market to, because if you don't know who you're talking to, how can you possibly craft a compelling marketing message that's going to resonate with them? Then we go on a little bit more about what our communication objectives are, what the competition looks like, both at the local and national level, any important facts that we hadn't talked about up until this point. Then I break down the sitemap just so they can have a clear visual reference of what we're going to be working on in the next upcoming phase. Then I asked about what content they have as well. So I wanted to just get ahead of this because in my experience, content is the number one thing that's likely to delay a project. So in the early going strategy phase, I always will try to get ahead of what content we need, because oftentimes it is on the client to provide that. And then this way they have their marching orders afterwards in terms of what content they need to work on producing. And then finally, I always want to align with my clients at this point in the project on what the visual direction is going to look like. This is important for me because, of course, the next phase is going to be the design phase. We'll be looking at some wireframes very shortly in Figma, but it's important for me to get a good sense ahead of time of what they like and what they don't like, because this way I don't want to go about designing a website and presenting the wireframes, something I think might look really cool, but then I send it over to them and they never had any interest in that design direction in the first place. So I always just pull some examples, and I always usually will ask them to bring some examples ahead of time as well. You can kind of think of it like a Pinterest mood board. So that's the idea. Then I ask if they have any questions. Then I outline next steps, and then that is the presentation. And then you'll note I put this in the client's main branding here. Very important. One thing I learned from a mentor a long time ago, clients don't care about your branding, they care about their branding. And then this also helps me position myself as part of the team. All right, ladies and gentlemen, quick break here. If, as you're watching this video, you are impressed with what you see, and you are either the CEO of a company, maybe you're the marketing director, if you believe your company could benefit from not just a brand new website like you can see here, but also a concrete strategy phase to ensure that the website is going to be able to generate leads and ultimately help your company grow revenue from this investment, then feel free to book a free strategy call with myself. This is not going to be a sales pitch. I don't know about you, but personally, whenever I get on a Zoom call and someone starts sharing your screen to present me some presentation, I just immediately doze off and check out. Rather, it's just going to be a one-to-one conversation for us to get to know each other and see if we would be a good fit to work together. I will take the time to learn about your company's goals, its key objectives, its current sales situation, what your competitors look like, and based on everything you tell me, I will help you outline a branding, web design and development, and an ongoing marketing strategy to ensure your company can generate leads, grow revenue, and achieve any goals it has out there. So if that sounds interesting to you, check out the interactive video form in the description of this video. It's just a couple questions, probably takes about 5 minutes to fill out, but it gives me all the core information I'm going to need to ensure that setting up a call would actually be worth both of our times. And if you are qualified, you will actually be directed to automatically book time directly on my calendar. Otherwise, I will get back to you within 24 hours on business days. So again, link in the description to check out that interactive video form. And without further ado, let's get back into the case study video. So let's get into Figma. All right, so these are the UX wireframes. As you can see here, these are just the very high level designs. Everything's in black and white and gray. And again, the goal here is not to fully design the website in one speed run. Rather, we're just trying to align on what content each page is going to have. That way, once we finalize each section of the page, then the question just becomes, what is the copy going to say in each section? And obviously, of course, what is the design going to be once we go live with the website? So this process essentially ensures that we're always taking 2 steps forward and we're not taking 1 step back in that case. So As you can see here, very high level, just kind of outlining things. And then do note, when I send this to the client, I will always send it with a screen recording presentation similar to this video style right here. This way they have a lot of context for what I'm thinking of. I can talk about any animations or interactions I'm thinking of adding to the website just to give it a little extra pizzazz. And this way they can also share it with other team members, maybe the CEO of the company. And this way they kind of see that a lot of thought goes into this. It's not like I just threw it together real quick and then sent it off to them. And then also worth noting, all of this is built with the Rayloom component library, so it is very efficient for me to be able to send these over to clients. Before I show you the UI wireframes and what they look like, it's important to note that this is the main client website here, and this is what at the time was in development at the time. So I had gotten these wireframes about what this website was going to look like well ahead of time, but at the time while I was working with the marketing team here, this website was not live. So essentially they had a very outdated old corporate WordPress website, whereas here you can see this is very modern, especially for an accounting firm. It looks very sleek, very new, very, very good, I would say, even though I had nothing to do with this particular website. So I bring this up now because it's important to note that we essentially, the main design challenge I would say here was not just making something that would look cool and be able to generate leads and really position this new IT spin-off of the company as a very strong service provider. But the main design challenge was that we needed to have a similar design language to what you see here. It couldn't be exactly the same. So it had to be similar yet differentiated at the same time from what you're seeing here. And I would say based on how the designs came out, we absolutely achieved that. So as you can see here, these were the 3 UI wireframes I was charged with putting together. The final website ended up looking a bit different due to some changes in development, but honestly, that happens. It's no big deal. So you can see I mocked everything up, and I also provided copy as well. So this way the client was able to get a very strong, clear picture of what I was envisioning. And we went with this dark look, similar to what you saw on the main website, but instead of the dark blue accents or even the bright blue in certain instances, I decided to be cool to go with this gold accent, and fortunately the clients liked it as well. Actually, I think it was already in the logo, so I just experimented with some different gradients. As you can see here, the website was very short, straightforward, and to the point. That's what the client liked here from all the different examples we had looked together. So we're really just trying to give people the essential information they need, and then ultimately, of course, they can book a 30-minute call to explore further. Now let's look in the actual live website because there were some nice bells and whistles we added. So we already looked at the homepage. As you can see here, we have this nice, as you scroll in, the text will go in or out. And again, all this is built with the Rayloom component library. The client fortunately put together a cool overview video. So we did this, but in a video lightbox, as you can see here. So came out very nice, very professionally shot, as you can see here. I'm a big fan personally of having a about explainer video right below the fold on the homepage, as you can see here, because honestly, in today's day and age, I'm recording this in mid 2025, it's the video content is where it's at, and that's ultimately how you build a personal connection. So I was very happy to see that the client had put that together. Then we have just a quick overview of the advisory solutions here in this case, and then the different technology services. So you already saw this, so we don't really need to go over this again. Then we have an About Us section. We ended up adding these video background headers similar to what you see again on the main website here. So as you can see here, this is a spinning globe with all the different continents. Very cool. Here is just a little bit more abstract. These are I don't know, sparks or something. But I think it's similar enough, again, similar style, however, differentiated enough where you're clearly on a different brand's website. All right, so then as you can see here, we have right below the fold a quick overview of this particular sector of the business. Then we have the background behind it, and then we're calling out exactly what makes us different. I think it's important to answer questions like that in terms of what makes you different from the competition, why should I hire you, things like that. Things the prospect is already going to be thinking in their minds as they're browsing your website. I think it's very important to just come out and answer directly. And again, so you can see here on all these different pages, we essentially just flipped that video header. So now we have a team section. This is all built with the Webflow CMS. So essentially, the client and the marketing team is able to go in the back end and update this content. They don't need to have any particular web development experience in order to do so. And then again, you can see we have a nice animation, all the cards animate in, and then we have a CTA here for people subscribing to their email and keeping up that way. Then we have two main service pages. So we have an advisory solutions page, as you can see here, and then we have the different services that can be provided. In here, I had these cards do like this kind of like background fade parallax type effect. So it's very subtle, but it definitely adds a good design touch to the website. Then we have some FAQs. So this is like what I was saying earlier. If clients have questions, they're unlikely to actually convert into a lead on the website. So I'm a big fan of having FAQs and calling out exactly what they're likely to be thinking about in the copy of the website itself. So this way we're answering all the questions ahead of time and being very proactive with that. And then again, this all goes back to the strategy workshop we looked at. This is where I got all this information and was able to develop these questions and all the copy for the website as well. And then we have like this grid CTA section. Do note though that while I did provide the initial copy to the client, they did have significant edits, but that's what I was expecting in this case because they do have a marketing team. Now we have the technology services, so very similar format as you can see here, and then the FAQs, they all animate in very nicely. They have a little effect when you toggle it on, and then we have the CTA grid section as well. These were all built with components in Webflow. So for example, in the future, if the client goes to edit one of these FAQs, it's going to edit on the other page as well. So very streamlined that way. Then we have a quick blog section here. So these were just the initial articles the website has just recently launched with. And then if they want to read them, they can see here what this looks like. Again, the fonts are from the main client website, the main Saks LLP website, but I'm a big fan of these fonts, especially against the black background. I think they look very nice, very cool. And then finally, we just have a very simple contact page with a HubSpot form embed and then some just quick contact information. So it was a pretty small website. It was like a 5-page website build. Very, very simple. I'm sure this is just going to be a V1 for the clients, and then they're going to add from there. But yeah, this is what the site looked like, and I hope you found it interesting. Let me know if you have any questions about the project or any comments about how it was built in Webflow, and I would be happy to get back to you.